I'm Veronica, and welcome to Jersey City Pilates. For today's class, you just need some socks. We're going to go through some lower body and core things, some planking and some bridging using socks. If you don't have socks that slide easily on a hardwood or tile floor, you can also use like the slider discs or even paper plates if you're on a carpet. And we will get started on our backs. I have my mat folded up just to give me a little bit more cushion on my hands, since most of this class will be in a plank position, but also so that I have plenty of room next to me to move around. So come down onto your back to start, and you're just gonna lay down on your mat, and just keeping your hips nice and square on the floor. Let your collarbones roll open, press your arms into the ground, and you're just gonna lift up the toes on your left foot. Keeping your hips nice and square, you're just gonna slide your heel away from you. And then keeping that hip nice and heavy, you're square in the hips though. You're just gonna press the heel into the floor and bring it back in. Activating through the back of your leg. Keeping that hip drop. So as you lower, you wanna just feel your femur kind of settle in the hip and then resist as you come back up. Also using the inner thighs on both legs to keep them pointed up towards the ceiling. Last one on the left side. Plant the foot down, lift the toes on the right, and switch sides. Just paying attention here to what side your hip wants to drop, if your rib cage is twisting, or if you're like me and your ribs are really opening and flaring towards the ceiling. So try to press those back ribs into the mat, draw your ribs towards your hips in the front to engage through the core. 3 more. Also think pelvic floor as you drag back in. Like you're squeezing your pelvic floor to stop the flow of the urine. Similar sensation. Last one. Good. Now from here, plant your feet on the floor, arms can be long by your sides. You're just gonna curl your tailbone up and you're gonna lift yourself up off the floor. Make sure your shoulder blades and shoulders are flat on the mat, your collarbone is nice and wide, and your head is firmly planted on the floor, so move your ponytail out of the way if you need. We're gonna stay up here in a bridge position, or you're gonna drop your hips and you're just gonna find a comfortable place where you're hovering off the floor. And then you're just gonna drop your right hip, lift your left, and then rotate towards the other direction. So just the hips are moving. The rib cage, if you want to put your hands on your ribs, is staying totally still. There's no weight shift in the feet, just the hips moving. Pause at the top, and then you're going to shift your hips over to the right, and then bring them back to the center, and then over to the left, center. One more time to each side, just getting your hips to move a little separately from the rest of your body. Good. From here, you're going to extend and slide your right foot away from you. You can lift your heel and bring it back in. Alternating sides. And as you extend, keep connected through the torso. So that means that the hip isn't dropping, and you're also keeping all 4 points, the ribs and the hips, the same distance, both laterally and vertically. So no side bending, no twisting, no dropping. One more time to each side. Left side. Good. Pause at the top. You can lower your hips and reset them if you need. Tuck your tailbone under, curl yourself back up. Pressing those feet into the floor, you're gonna lift the toes, slide both heels away as far as is comfortable, and then lift the hips, slide them back in, and then slide them away. Your hips will lower, and then lift. 4 more. Going for whatever range of motion feels good for you. You can always revert back to one of the other variations we've done. This is pretty killer on the hamstrings. Think about drawing the heels towards the head. Collarbone is wide. Last one. Plant the feet. Peel your spine down one vertebrae at a time towards the floor. Bring your hips, knees into your chest, and rock back and forth gently from one side to the other. Grab on behind the thighs and rock yourself up. You're gonna come onto all fours and fix your hair if you need it. You're gonna recommend a low ponytail so that your hair isn't flipping over your head, pulling your neck down. But you're not here for hair advice. You're here for Pilates. I'm gonna pull Julio, sorry. I'm gonna have my hands and my knees on my mat. And I'm just gonna extend my left leg, or right leg rather, back behind me. Elbows are soft, hands pressing firmly into the floor. And back in. You can keep the heels of your hands lifted if you prefer. You're just gently moving your leg, kind of doing the opposite direction of what we were just doing moments ago on your back. Last one on that right side. Maybe don't wear white socks. You'll find out whether or not your floor is dirty. And back up. And 5 more. Opening onto the back of the knee and the hip. 2 more. Last one. Bring it back in underneath you. Walk your hands onto the center of your mat. Bring your knees off. You're gonna curl one toe under and then the other and find your plank. You can also meet me here in a forearm plank. I don't recommend doing this on your knees, so if you're not prepared for the knee planks, then I would avoid. No. Find yourself in a nice plank, one leg out and the other, or you can find yourself on your forearms in a forearm plank. If you would like to do this on your knees, you're welcome to, but you may find that your range of motion is going to be a little smaller, and that's no problem. So find your plank, and then from here, you're just gonna slide your right leg in and out. We'll stay on the same side. Ribs are drawing towards your hips. Your chest is open through your arms. Your collarbone is visible to the person in front of you. Your elbows are soft. Last one, ribs are drawn toward your hips. Left side. For 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, drop to your knees and take a break if you need. Sit back on your heels. You can flip your hands over, whatever feels nice. Give your wrists a break. Again, you can always have your hands on the floor with the heels of your hands lifted. That may help if you're finding too much compression through the wrist. But the next 3 things we're gonna try to do without a break. So move at your own pace and take breaks when you need. There will be plenty of reps, I promise. Curl those toes back under, find your plank. Now you're gonna bend both knees in and extend. Both knees in and extend. 3 more. We're doing 6 of everything. Last one. Pause with both legs long. Bring your leg out to the side, alternating. And if you're on your knees here, you're doing the same thing. 3, 2. Trying to keep those hips as square as possible. Last one, over to the left. Make sure you have enough room around you so you're not kicking any walls. Hips stay low. 2. Last one. Find your plank. Lift yourself up into a plank. Press yourself out to a plank. Lift into the plank. Press yourself out. For 4, 3. And if you're on your hips, 2. Back to that child's pose, plank. Child's pose, plank. Last one to the plank. Out. Curl those toes under. Slide both knees in. And then sit back onto your heels and give yourself a little hug. If you can't get your heels onto the ground, just let your heels be floating off the floor. Give yourself a little hug. And then bring your hands onto the mat. Bring your knees nice and wide. And reach your arms forward into a child's pose. Take a nice deep breath. Put a little heat in your body now. Just feel your ribs expand. Those muscles in between your ribs get a little stretch. And then exhale, draw everything all the way together. One more time, inhale. And exhale. Bring your hands back onto your mat if they were on the floor. Shoot your legs back out into that plank. Lift your hips, curl those toes under. Find your feet planted on the floor. Bend your knees as much as you need, shake your head out. Let your weight swing from one side to the other once or twice. Your hips stay glued back behind you. Find yourself square, bend those knees, curl your tailbone under, draw up one vertebrae at a time. Lift your arms up overhead. Externally rotate through the hands, press down. Grow nice and tall. Knees are soft. Tuck your tailbone under just a little bit. Feel your ribs slide up by your hips. And then your collarbones open and your arms rest by your side, and you're all finished. Good.